Welcome charities to the CFC 201 for nonprofits, best practices from opportunity to action. We are excited to present easy CFC best practices today, review the resources available to charities, and how to maximize your participation in the CFC. This is a follow-up to the CFC 101 presentation in July. If you could not attend that training, you may access the presentation and all recordings from the first week of training on the CFC Foundation website under resources. Throughout our call today, please be sure to put your comments and questions in the chat. As Liz already said, Diego Orfin from Earthshare will be putting resources in the chat, and Jennifer Lesnick with America's Charities will be helping to monitor the chat and answer questions as they come in. Please note that we will have a Q&A session after our presentation today. So if your question does not get answered in the chat, don't fret. We will make sure to answer during the Q&A. Also, this is being recorded, and this recording will also be available on the CFC Foundation website. Next slide, please. So I briefly want to go over the objectives today and that we plan to cover. First, we plan to cover how to take opportunities and turn them into actionable ways to engage with the CFC and federal employees. You will learn about opportunities to attract new donors and unrestricted revenue to your organization. We will explore how you can retain revenue and donors in the CFC. And lastly, we will review how to find online resources available to your charity in the CFC. And just to repeat what I said, as I mentioned previously, we will be putting numerous resources that are available to you and your charity in the chat. Next slide, please. Well, you know our names, Robin and Beth, and so we wanted to make a little bit of an introduction about ourselves. My name is Beth Gunter. I am the Senior Program Director of Campaigns for Earthshare. Earthshare is one of the federations in the Combined Federal Campaign. I personally have been with Earthshare for 19 years, and I can't believe I'm saying this. This is my 20th CFC season, and Earthshare itself has been in the CFC for over 30 years. My colleague joining me today for this presentation is Robin Neal with America's Charities, another federation in the CFC. And so I'm going to kick it off to Robin, and she's going to review some slides, and then you'll hear from me again later in this presentation.
Yeah, hi everyone. Next slide, please. As Beth had noted, I'm Robin Neal, and I am the Vice President of Charitable Grants and Compliance at America's Charities. I have been with America's Charities and the CFC since 2001, and America's Charities has been a proud partner of the Combined Federal Campaign for over 30 years. I am also the board chair of the CFC Foundation. Before we begin, I do want to say that I did learn a new word today, glossophobia and guilty. So please be kind. So I know parts of this have been covered in other sessions, but I'm going to begin with some fun facts about the CFC. The CFC has been in existence for over 60 years. It was established in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy through executive order. The CFC is one of the nation's largest workplace giving programs, providing vital funding to over 4,400 national, international, and local service organizations. The CFC generated $70.1 million in the 2023 campaign, and that was about $68 million in pledge dollars and $2 million in volunteer hours. The CFC is a long-standing tradition in the federal government, and since its inception, nearly $9 billion has been raised for nonprofits that participate. The Combined Federal Campaign regulations govern all aspects of the CFC, and the program is overseen by the Office of Personnel Management, Office of the CFC. There are regulations we put in the chat, as well as contact information. The solicitation period for the CFC is from September 1st to January 15th, each campaign cycle. As noted in the previous session, each campaign is organized by zone. It's comprised of 35 local campaign zones, including overseas, and that information and the map will be also in the chat. One online application gets you in front of donors, online and in print brochures in all zones for national and international organizations. Local organizations are listed online in all zones through All Around Giving. However, local organizations are only in the print brochures for their local area. In the past 10 years, the CFC has added retiree giving and volunteerism through executive order. Next slide. So now we're going to talk about getting started. And okay, you've gotten the good news in the form of your approval email to the CFC. So what are your next steps? The first thing to do is look over the email that you received from the Office of the CFC for details on how to submit your listing information and listing fee. This year, the initial due date was August 16th. If you miss this deadline, while not ideal, there is a late submission deadline of August 30th at 11:59 p.m. Moving forward, it is best to meet the first listing deadline in order to maximize the benefits of your submission. With the later submission date, you may not be included in any print materials and are subject to a late fee. Without this listing information, you can also not participate in the CFC, even though you were approved. If you are a member of a federation, your listing information will be submitted on your behalf from the federation. If you are an independent organization, this is submitted by you directly. OPM has provided you with the resources to complete your listing information. They have included a link to a training module, which will be in the chat, in their approval email and in subsequent reminders. So what does your listing information include? It includes your 5-digit CFC code, and I cannot stress this enough, use your code everywhere. It also has a submission of your 256 character, which is approximately 25 words, service and program description, your tax identification number, if you have a doing business as name, your website and phone number, as well as your organization's fundraising rate as submitted on your application. It also has your NTEE code, which is the National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities Code. It details the types of services you provide, and you may select up to 3. This comes into play when being featured in cause categories. If you are a member of a federation, they will work with you and guide you on the listing. If you are independent, please review the training module. It's wonderful prior to completing your listing. There are some other optional yet important actions during this listing phase that you're strongly urged to take. This includes submitting your logo, which will be included with your online listing, and specifications for submission are provided. It also includes the submission of volunteer information and the submission of your care statement. For the volunteerism side, each participating CFC organization has the option to accept volunteer hours as donations. In this listing, you may add up to 3 skills required for your volunteers. The care statement, which is the CFC automated response element. It's a statement of acknowledgement with 1,000-character maximum that is automatically sent to a donor that makes a pledge to your organization. This is great because it will capture all donors, including those that do not release their information for acknowledgement to you. And it provides the donor with a bit more information on the impact of their donation. Approximately 20% of CFC donors release their pledge information to nonprofits. So the care statement is a crucial way to thank your donors and tell them how their gift will benefit your constituents. The training module provides tips on how to create an impactful statement. And if you're a federation member, they will work with you to create the statement. So now you've gotten through the listing phase. It's now time to plan your campaign strategy. As I stated previously, the campaign dates are set annually through CFC regulations and only run from September 1st through January 15th each campaign cycle. The givecfc.org site provides participating nonprofits with so many resources, which includes guidance, points of contact for assistance, training, videos, logos, messaging, and toolkits on how to maximize your participation in the CFC and engage with federal employees and retirees. Plan ahead. Set your plan on how you can work to reach donors. The suggestions provided in this session and the materials are geared to help you achieve maximum success. However, be realistic when planning. We know that one size does not fit all when it comes to participating in the CFC, and your success is gauged in different ways. You are encouraged to utilize those strategies that fit best for your organization and the resources that you currently have available. Determine your CFC event strategy. There'll be more to come from Beth on this, but sign up to participate in virtual charity fairs, and also sign up to participate in in-person events if possible. Review the charity cause listings to see how your organization may take part. This year, there's been a change. Causes will be featured throughout the campaign, not just for 1 week. And the causes featured represent all 25 of the NTEE code areas in the CFC. So there is a lot for you to take advantage of here. While the campaign runs for a finite period, there are best practices that you may utilize year-round when it comes to donor communication and marketing. Next slide, please. One of the most important things you should do is to engage with your donors. Thanking and cultivating your existing CFC donor base is essential for retaining donors and vital donations. As stated earlier, about 20% of CFC donors request to be acknowledged for their gift. Having your care statement ready is a way to capture the 80% that do not. However, do not let the 20% that choose to give their information go unrecognized. Go back to past donors too, if you have that information. The CFC restricts the sale or lease of donor information. However, you may communicate with your donors to recognize, engage, and educate them about your mission. Before creating your communication plan for your donors, please identify and segment your CFC donors. You do not want to run the risk of converting your recurring donors into one-time donors. If you have the capability, mark your CFC donors in your database. This will allow you to exclude these donors from solicitations, but ensure they are receiving mission-focused messaging and CFC-specific communications. The most important step in donor engagement is recognition. Thank them. If you have limited resources, focus your time here. Begin by acknowledging individual contributions by email or written communication, but please be sure that when you do, if you're sending by email, do not send to a .gov or a .mil email address. In your acknowledgement, focus on the impact of the donation using a personal story or a testimonial from a federal donor if possible. You may also want to use your communications and social media to acknowledge how federal donors have supported your organization through the CFC. Look for opportunities to include CFC donors in your organization's existing mission-focused communications. This could be your newsletter, information on volunteering, or an invitation to an educational or research presentation. These individuals have already expressed an interest in putting in your mission, so they'll want to know more about the programs you are offering in their community and how to get further involved. Be sure in your communication to mention the benefits of giving through the CFC through payroll deduction or retiree annuity, how a little bit from each paycheck really goes a long way, and that gifts from payroll deduction are 5 times higher than one-time donations. Just be sure they aren't receiving any direct solicitations. Finally, before and during the campaign, look for special opportunities to reach out to your CFC donors, like the CFC kickoff, #GivingTuesday, holiday messaging, or finishing strong. As the CFC statistics presentation from July has shown, using internal targeted messaging has a profound impact for donors and translates externally. Messaging for you to use will also be provided on the givecfc.org. Please remember, according to CFC regulation, charities are the only organizations that can contact their donors. You are missing out if you do not acknowledge them. Next slide. So this slide shows some examples from the Give CFC website. So just double check, sorry about that. Some examples from about how to encourage federal donor support in the CFC. The CFC National Marketing Outreach Coordinator will be providing messaging also on the givecfc.org site that you can actually use to connect with donors on your website, newsletters, emails, and social media. This will be coming soon. Next slide.
All right. Now that you have recognized and cultivated your identified CFC donors, you can turn your attention to using marketing and social media to reach new and anonymous donors. The first and most important step is to submit videos and stories to the National Marketing Outreach Coordinator. All CFC zones have access to these materials, and donors can easily search for information by charity name, CFC number, cause area, charity type, or CFC zone. To maximize the impact of your materials, use real photos and compelling stories, especially featuring military service members or federal employees. Be sure to check the marketing guidelines on givecfc.org for stories and videos. For example, videos must be 60 seconds or less, be captioned, and comply with Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act. If your videos do not meet these requirements, they will be denied. Stories also have specific guidelines and are limited to 750 words. The video and story photo you submit will now appear together on one charity page, along with your charity's listing statement, charity logo, CFC number, charity type, and cause area. What is cool is you can use this charity page link in CFC Promotion 2 for your organization. If you are a federation member, which you're going to hear that throughout this entire presentation, you do want to double check with your federation that they have not already handled submitting your virtual charity fair information. Second, maximize your organization's website as a promotional tool. During campaign season, include the CFC logo and your designation number on your homepage and in your website footer. Include this information on your Ways to Give page year-round. If possible, create a dedicated CFC page on your website or workplace giving webpage that can feature the combined federal campaign. Note that if you need the CFC logo for your website, those are available on givecfc.org. Whenever possible, direct donors to the CFC's giving platform, text to give, and the mobile site for donations. CFC even has a QR code that you can use so that donors can easily download the mobile giving app. Also consider updating your staff email signature with your CFC number during the campaign season. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of how charities have used their website to promote that they are in the CFC. At the top is an example of using the CFC logo in your website footer. Be sure to link the graphic to the giving platform and have your CFC number visible. Reminder again, the CFC logos are available on givecfc.org. Below the footer are two wonderful examples of CFC mentions on charities' Ways to Give web pages. Both link to the giving platform and clearly state the charity CFC number. Next slide, please. Another easily accessible tool for cultivating CFC donors is social media. Engage with the national CFC and local campaign zone accounts by liking and commenting on posts and sharing content on Facebook and LinkedIn. Use your own social media channels to promote your CFC involvement. You can use a free platform like Canva to create social media graphics or see examples on givecfc.org. And new this year, which I'm very excited about, the CFC has even created a graphic template for your charity to create your own CFC branded graphic. In any post, whether you share a post or create your own, be sure to use the hashtag GiveCFC, include your CFC number, and link to the giving platform. Because federal and military employees are a small section of your overall donor base, you don't want to inundate your connections with CFC messaging year-round. However, there are some key dates you might want to focus on, and these may sound familiar. They include the CFC kickoff, cause areas that align with your organization's mission, Giving Tuesday, and the close of the CFC. If you have local offices, getting your chapters to partner on social media during these key times can amplify your message. Coordinate with your chapter staff, volunteers, and other stakeholders to send written messages or repost your messages on designated days. If you are considering paid advertising, LinkedIn and Facebook will allow you to target geographic zones and someone's current employer. Next slide. Here are a few samples of posts that charities have used during the CFC. Again, we recognize that it may be difficult to implement all of these strategies, but creating a plan in advance and considering your options will allow you to align your strategies with your capacity to maximize impact. There are more examples and template language available at givecfc.org too. On the left of this slide is a wonderful example from a charity using the new CFC co-branded graphic template. And notice on this example that they have the Give CFC hashtag and CFC number as listed. In the middle is an example of what Earthshare does on social media. We have a very small paid advertising budget for the CFC on social media platforms. If you have a marketing team that likes to track URL clicks like our team does, we link to a landing page on our website that has all sorts of CFC information on our partners and links to the giving platform. Lastly, if you don't have a team to help you with social media content, share your local zone or national CFC posts. On the right is an example of a CFC LinkedIn post that you can share. But don't forget to add your CFC number if you share as well. Next slide, please. So now another opportunity you have is talking about attending events. Throughout the course of the campaign, charities will have the opportunity to attend tabling and speaking events. Attending events, distributing materials, and making presentations are the best ways to inform donors that your organization is an option in the CFC. When you attend an event, you have the opportunity to provide the audience with specific information about the important work your organization is doing. It increases visibility and name recognition. As a result, donations to your organization may increase. Since the pandemic, majority of the CFC events have been virtual. However, over the last 2 years, we have been grateful to see a shift to a hybrid model of virtual and in-person events. We can expect the CFC will continue this moving forward. You can sign up, and this is a repeat of what they talked about in the last session, but just in case you missed it, you can sign up to receive event notices on givecfc.org. On the event form, you will be asked to select cause areas your organization aligns with. If you are a federation member, please check with your federation first to confirm they haven't already signed your organization up for events and are handling the event process for you. Once you're signed up for events, your organization will receive event notices from the CFC Zone OCs. The CFC organizations chosen to attend an event are based on a random selection by the CFC event system. The event notices will provide information on whether it's virtual or in person, as well as if it is speaking or tabling, the location, date, and time. More information on what the full event process will look like this year will be forthcoming soon from the OCs or from your federation if you are a member. So now you get invited to an event, and let's go into some best practices for attending an event. First, I'm going to start with a speaking opportunity. Most of the speaking events are virtual and about an hour-long program. However, with a move to a hybrid campaign, we will see more in-person speaking events. No matter if the event is in person or virtual, here are some reminders about speaking at a CFC event. Going into the CFC season, be prepared with a 3 to 5 minute speech ready to go. Most speaking engagements also allow a PowerPoint presentation. For your speech, and this is very important, please remember to touch on the following. Your speeches should always start with a thank you to the audience for their participation, generosity, and support of the combined federal campaign. Your speech should tell what your organization does, explain a program or accomplishment the audience can relate to, perhaps something local to your CFC region, and how CFC dollars have helped to accomplish this. We recommend including dollar buy statements that show how even $1 out of each paycheck can make an impact on your community. Also touch on the benefits of CFC and workplace giving. The CFC is a powerful form of fundraising for charities and is an easy, convenient way for a donor to give by having charity donations automatically taken out of each paycheck. The CFC is a year-round reliable revenue source for charities. As a CFC charity, we are provided with our projected pledge totals after the CFC ends, and we receive monthly distributions. We are able to use that for budgeting, and we know that that money is coming in. The great thing about CFC dollars is that they are unrestricted, which in the charity world, as you know, is always beneficial. Relate to donors in your speech how important unrestricted funds are to your organization, especially if you are a charity that helps with emergency responses. Payroll gifts on average are 3 to 5 times greater than one-time gifts. For many people, it is much easier to give $5 out of each paycheck versus giving a one-time donation of $120. And this relates back to using dollar-buy statements in your speech. Show how even the smallest payroll donation can truly make an impact. The CFC allows donors to give to the causes and charities they care about. Your organization is one of over 4,400 charities in the CFC. To help to push the importance of CFC, encourage your audience to find a charity that has impacted them in some way. We also encourage you to relay that if financial hardship is an issue, they can volunteer their time through the CFC with many organizations that rely on volunteer support to fulfill their mission. And as stated previously, your organization is one of over 4,400 charities in the CFC. And it is important to recognize that we all these charities greatly benefit from the CFC and appreciate the federal community's support. At the end of your speech, thank the audience again on behalf of all the charities in the CFC for supporting the combined federal campaign. And without their support, we couldn't fulfill our missions. Next slide, please. Now on to CFC tabling events, often referred to as a charity fair, where nonprofits are given the opportunity to provide literature and giveaways and speak to employees one-on-one. Tabling has many benefits, and having that one-on-one interaction helps your organization make a direct connection. You should bring information about your organization, like brochures, flyers, newsletters, or info on upcoming volunteer opportunities or events. Also, everyone loves free stuff. Everyone loves swag. This can include pens, stickers, magnets, really any kind of swag will do. And make sure that everything has your CFC number on it. If your incentives don't have a CFC number on them, a simple fix is to print sticker labels with your number on them. If your organization has a limited budget, it's easy to print items in-home. Some examples I've seen are stickers, bookmarks, recipe cards, and educational tips. Candy or prepackaged snacks are always a big hit too. Again, you can just print your CFC number on a sticker and put it on the packaging. You want to make sure that your table is inviting and, if possible, interactive. First, have a great tables display. This includes tablecloths, tabletop signs, props, stuffed animals. Really anything that helps your table stand out is a huge plus. Not all events have electrical hookup, but if they do, show a video at your table. A trivia wheel, and I can say this from experience, is always a big hit too. They are very inexpensive online, and you would be surprised how many people want to turn that wheel to guess an answer. And print out a nice QR code that goes to the CFC giving site and your website and have that on the table. While at CFC events, this is very important, you cannot collect names or email addresses. This includes newsletter signups. You also cannot accept direct donations at an event. All donations must go through the campaign. Animals are always a huge hit at events and a great way to increase employee engagement. And to be honest, it's one of my favorite things about in-person events. However, make sure before you bring a live animal that it is pre-approved by the agency. It's important that your organization's event representative is comfortable talking to people and engaging with employees. Someone who's not engaging will decrease your organization's chance of connecting to donors. Next slide, please. As we stated in other portions of this presentation, there are some key dates that you want to keep in mind for marketing, donor outreach, and event attendance. These are also dates when the CFC does special promotions and highlights. For marketing and communications, a reminder that the CFC National Marketing Outreach Coordinator has graphics already created for these key dates, and those can be found on the givecfc.org website. The first date is the start of the CFC, which is September 1st. During the start of the campaign, reach out to your past CFC donors, reminding them the campaign has started. Include in your communications and also post and share on social media that the CFC giving system is open. You will see events from campaign kickoffs come in during September. This is a great opportunity to let people know your organization is in the campaign and to jump on that enthusiasm that the campaign has started. New this year, the CFC has shifted away from specific dates for promoting cause areas, which Robin mentioned earlier. Highlighting causes, though, is still a major component of the National Marketing Outreach Coordinator marketing strategy, and all causes will be promoted throughout the campaign instead of just 1 week of the campaign. On givecfc.org, there is a tab for the cause areas that provides more information about each cause, as well as tools and resources such as stories, graphics, videos, and social media posts to support that cause area. Use the cause area resources in communication and on social media, letting your audience know you're a giving option for that cause in the CFC. A great way to incorporate the cause areas into your CFC marketing strategy is by using tentpole and federal holidays. For example, if you are an organization that helps veterans, you can do a special promotion on Veterans Day using the Military and Veteran Services cause graphics. Or if you are an organization that works with cancer patients, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You can use the CFC Global Health and Research Marketing resources to promote that you are in the CFC while also incorporating your mission and how CFC helps. Current events are another fantastic way to use the cause areas in your CFC marketing strategy. For example, during the fall, we do unfortunately experience many natural disasters, both nationally and internationally. If you are a charity that works on disaster and crisis response, you can use these cause resources to promote you are in the CFC and working on the ground. And as a reminder, the CFC dollars are unrestricted. You can incorporate how important those funds are to your organization and how CFC supports those efforts. During the campaign, there is a chance you will see event notices coming in related to the causes you align with. And it is very common for agencies to have themed events promoting the cause and charities working in that impact area. Be sure to check givecfc.org on a regular basis because more cause area resources are coming soon. Just like all nonprofits, Giving Tuesday and year-end giving in the CFC are big donation times. Be sure to include giving through the CFC in your organization's Giving Tuesday and year-end marketing and communication plans. Federal agencies also do have Giving Tuesday events, and it can be a big event day. The campaign ends on January 15th, and as we all know in society, everyone waits to the last minute to do a lot of things. And so be sure to do promotion and communication reminding people that the CFC is ending and to get those final donations in. Earthshare itself, we have seen massive success in doing promotion from January 1st to the 15th. So still keep pushing from that January 1st to the 15th. And so now I'm going to pass it along to Robin to go over a best practices checklist of all the things that we've covered throughout our presentation so far. Robin?
Thanks, Beth. Thank you, Beth. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you've heard a lot of information today from us about ways to maximize the benefits of participating in the CFC. This checklist is something for you to refer back to when focusing on planning and your campaign strategy. An email on how to access all the information in this presentation will be sent after the training sessions for this week are complete. They will be placed on the CFC Foundation website, which is cfcf-today.org. As stated earlier in the session, there are many resources available for you to use on givecfc.org, which is wonderful. However, again, it's important to note that you may not be able to do everything, and one size does not fit all when it comes to your participation. And what is successful for your organization is different from another. So you are really encouraged to utilize those strategies that fit best for your organization and the resources that you have available. If you cannot implement all, start with a few and gradually work more in as you can. The tools are there. We are also here to help and answer any questions that you have. Next slide, please. This slide is a fantastic summary of what is available for the nonprofits on givecfc.org. All resources for CFC nonprofits are categorized so that you may easily locate them and take maximum advantage of your participation. Next slide, please. Full disclosure. Okay, when we handed in our presentation, this has now changed because the National Marketing Outreach Coordinator and the marketing team are working day by day in real time to update the site to make it easier for you to use. So while the slide looks a little different now, it does show you the different points of contact in case you have any questions. So, it gives you the OPM contact information, the CCA campaign administrator. It provides you with information on help desk and also the outreach coordinators. So it's a really great resource, and I'd please put the site in the chat for us so you can see what the new screen looks like. Next slide, please. And here is a list of some other trainings this week for charities to attend. You're welcome to attend all, and we want you to, but if you have limited time, we'd like you to focus maybe on these. On Wednesday, August 21st at 3, there's a breakout session for CFC 301 for nonprofits. Now, it's primarily geared to larger nonprofits, but please feel free to attend and listen. Also on Thursday, August 22nd, we have promoting volunteerism from 2 to 2:30, and from 3 to 4 we have the 2024 CFC marketing plan. So that is it for me at this point in time, and Beth, and I thank you all for your attention to us and to being a great audience, and we're open for questions. Robert.
I won't pass up an open mic opportunity.
I wouldn't have nothing else.
A couple things. So the local federal coordinators are key to organizing the campaign locally. You talked about all the cause weeks. You talked about a time frame from September 1st to January 15th. Can you talk about, do all campaigns follow those guidelines?
In terms of the timeline from the 1st of September to January 15th,
right.
Robert, I just want to, what that period is, and correct me if I'm wrong, team of experts, is that the timeline for individual agency campaigns may only run from September 1st through January 15th. But that does not mean that all agencies begin on September 1st and end on January 15th. They
right.
have different dates where they can kick off their campaigns.
Right. And that's all dependent upon the local agencies and the local federal coordinating committee to decide what time frame works for their campaign. So if you're in an area that is not doing active solicitation during those dates, there's probably a reason. Don't panic. Just check with your OC and find out what the details are. As well as the marketing materials. Is it possible for any agency that may be having trouble understanding the resources that you made available, all of the links, can they reach out to a potential local help desk or the national marketing or anybody else to help them, say, co-brand or tailor their message to really tap into the CFC donor base?
I think Jennifer raised her hand. Is this in response to this question, Jen?
Oh, I'm sorry, it is not.
Oh, okay. Okay. I believe the resources are there for them to reach out. I believe a list of the OCs and the local campaign OCs are provided on the givecfc.org website. I also do believe that the national marketing OC may be contacted with any questions. And
good.
Yes.
That's what I was going for. Where do they reach out to actually talk to somebody to ask their question to get it answered? Thank you, Robin.
No, thank you. I think we put that in the chat too.
You
if
probably
not,
did.
It's Give CFC. I believe it's where charities turn for help. There's a contact us as well.
There was a wealth of information in that chat session.
Yes, there was.
The last thing is there's a lot of confusion over CFC Give website, CFC Foundation Today website. We, as the foundation, are not affiliated formally with OPM, and so therefore we are providing this training. We are providing all of the website to store this training so that you can download it. OPM is not. Remember, anything that OPM does must be 508 compliant. They have to go through all of their protocols to get the information released. It is really important that we augment their efforts with the CFC Foundation websites. And we just want everybody to know that there's a whole bunch of websites, but there's a reason for it. And we appreciate your patience. Please try to keep it straight. Reach out to us if you need to.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. That distinction is very important. And as a nonprofit, the CFC Foundation, our mission is to promote and support the campaign.
And we're not in it.
When it comes to the CFC itself, it's governed by regulations, and OPM is provides the administrative oversight and manages this program.
Yeah, I have a question on the listing information. And do you have an example of one? You sent a chat, but it had generic information, so it didn't answer the question.
Did you, in the training module, there is, and I believe there is information in the training module that is provided by OPM on that, and how to write and work and make an impactful statement. I believe there are examples in there.
And Jennifer was great. Actually just answered that in the chat. There's a link that shows information about the listing.
I can't find it. Only thing I found was something generic.
Where are we? Let me take a look in the chat. It's
the very last one.
Sorry, I just got the question, and so my response, it is not an actual example, but I do list most of the information that is requested on the listing portion of the application.
But I also do encourage you, and I believe we put and Diego, if you could put the link back for the training module, I strongly recommend that you give a watch to that one. It's really thoughtful and very thorough.
You putting the training module back on?
The training module here, let me go grab that. I think it's, here we go. I'm gonna put it in again. Here we go. I'm just gonna, to everyone. Jen, I'm not able to give it to everyone. I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, if you want to send it to me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We do have a couple of questions, Jen. I don't know if that's why your hand was raised, that we were asked in the chat that we haven't asked or answered yet. And Jennifer relayed that she's gotten several questions on this. And if you and I, Robin, could address this. And what the first question, well, I'm going to answer the one I do know the answer to. Can a charity have more than one cause area? Yes, you can. I believe, Robin, you said it was three. Yes, you are allowed to select up to 3 cause areas that you align with. But one of the other questions was, what if the cause area listed do not represent our organization? And so I personally, and Robin, you might know the answer to this, but I'm wondering if the person if someone that asked that, this might help the marketing, CFC marketing committee as well. If you could kind of drop an example in the chat of maybe what you do or your focus area, and then we can kind of come back to that. Unless, Robin, you have a specific.
I'm curious to see. Hopefully, all these NTEE codes should be focused on areas within the CFC, but there could be one that is an other. So I'm very curious to see, and curious to know how marketing, the NMOC, handles that. If anyone's on the call.
So the one person says with disabilities, I'm wondering if there's a way, Liz, I don't know if you could pop up the the slide again with all the listings, because I don't have those written out in front of me, or all the cause areas. Or if Sam or someone from the marketing is on the call. Still, I don't know if Samantha's still on.
Is it on your presentation, Beth?
Yep, so keep
Yeah.
going back a couple slides. Keep going. And
Here
it's
we go.
right there.
Is it this
Go
one?
back.
There we go. So, what about, let's see, there should be a health, right? I mean, shouldn't there be a health?
There's global health and research, and then also human rights. But what we can do is there might.
Education is another one. If your mission is to educate.
I will say I am a little bit surprised that health is not on its own, because I think that would cover a fair number of groups.
Yeah, I mean, mental wellness is an aspect, but with
There's
global
global health and research. It's just
Yeah.
not health.
yeah.
If you guys have suggestions for this list, I would encourage you to send them to the National Marketing OC for next year to be considered. This list does change slightly each year. It goes through the OPM's Office of Communications Department for approval. So this list will not change for this year, but if you have suggestions or input for it, send it to the NMOC for consideration for the 2025 campaign.
Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
Does the person that asked the question, do you see categories here that would help on this one? Well, hopefully, let's see. Here we go.
There's really no cause week for faith-based organizations unless they choose a specific topic. But I think a cause area for faith-based organizations might be a good idea.
That's another thing to suggest to the National Marketing Outreach Coordinator, I guess, as we move forward.
Another question, and I am writing these down so I can also make sure, Jen, that or that we send this to the marketing OC. But another question that was formed, and I don't know if Robin and I are the ones to answer this, and so we might need some help from CFC people and minds. One was related to, are we doing anything to better educate donors on releasing their content or their contact information? I know from calls, this has been something that has come up on the CFC Foundation, but there was a charity that specifically asked, is there any kind of education going on with donors, talking about why it is important to release their information, as well as the charity was relaying that donors also get extremely confused if they don't get a thank you, where they think they released their information and to find out they didn't. Robert Jennings, yes.
This is something as a key worker, as a coordinator, I train key workers every year to do. And it's the key worker's job to educate those donors. It is important that the key worker explain to the donor the purpose of releasing the information, what that does, what it entails, and also what it doesn't do. Tell them it will not get additional solicitation. It'll get you a thank you. It'll get you updates on the work that the charities that you're designating to do. But that is an important point of training every key worker, and it's the key worker's responsibility to do that.
Thank you, Robert. And I know from conversations, and I don't know if anyone from OPM is still on the call, from conversations with OPM, is that they give the donor opportunities to, give their information on pledge forms. They do state information that if you do not, you will not be acknowledged. They do their best to ensure that this information is given should a donor want to release that information. But another thing about the CFC is a lot of donors do really want to be anonymous. So, and that's why the care statement is in play to try to capture those donors.
Exactly, Robin. We want to give by payroll deduction, and we want to give so that we're not bothered. Nobody knows we gave. We're just given to give. 100%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Getting back to the charitable cause areas, another thing to think about for to have your marketing group look at, lumping together global health and research makes an enormous category. It would probably be better to separate health, as in patient services organizations, from medical research organizations, because lumping them together makes an enormous group. Just a thought.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so does anyone else have any other questions? Let's see, is there anything in the chat, Jennifer, that we're missing?
I was going to say no, and then one just popped up.
Awesome.
When do key workers get detailed training as outlined by Robert?
When do they, that's a question, not for us. When do the key workers get their training? It would have to be before the start of the campaign, I would assume, and once those volunteers are in place.
Yeah, Robin, let me. Each
I'm going
campaign
to.
is
Thank you.
responsible for establishing that training schedule. The LFCCs work with the agencies. We try to tailor that training to just in time for those key workers. We don't want to do it too early because the information becomes stale. And obviously we don't want to do it after your agency has started the solicitation. We want the key workers in place. But that training, first off, you have to identify the key workers, then you got to get them all on the same schedule to get there. And so all of that is determined at each local campaign.
Thanks, Robert.
Yep.
So that'll happen before September 1st?
Well, it depends. If your agency is not kicking off their campaign until the middle of October, then no, it doesn't need to be by October 1st. October 1st is when our donor portal opens and all agencies can begin the campaign, but they don't have to. So it's all dependent upon your local campaign. Check with your OC.
There was something nice to put in the chat regarding more causes that are incorporated, and it was related that the marketing presentation, which we listed as an upcoming training that we do recommend for you all, will provide more information during that around the cause areas. So I believe that's on Thursday, Robin?
I believe it's Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It is Thursday at 3.
Terry?
I'd put a couple things in the chat, but they weren't questions. You had mentioned about bringing animals to different events. I would check. It should be when the agency fills out, when they do a request, they're supposed to put all the information in that event, stating whether there's certain security protocols, whether there's all this information. If you don't see that as a charity, ask the question. The reason I bring this up is I'm an old GSA building manager, facility manager, and we will not let any animal into the building unless it's a service animal as defined by the American Disabilities Act, which basically means a dog or a small horse. Those are the only two animals you're going to be allowed to bring into a federal building. So just if you're planning on bringing an animal, ask that question to whoever the contact is. And then also, if you don't see it in there, if you don't see anything in there about security requirements, ask that question because each building is different. A federal building, depending on where it's at, you're probably going to be allowed to bring your phone in. You're probably going to be allowed to bring a laptop in to do a presentation. You're going into a federal courthouse, that's not allowed. You can request the agency to do some pre-request, which may or may not happen because it's the agency that is in charge of security. Some courthouses with pre-approval may allow you to, but a lot of them aren't going to allow you to bring a phone or a laptop. You'll have to check it in at the entrance, or they'll tell you to take it back out to your car. So you may have to email their presentation to whoever the agency contact is, and then they load it up on their equipment there. So if you don't see that on any of the information that you get sent, once you get shown in that you're invited to an event, ask that question to that contact. We have no problem, as being somebody that's hosted events in a federal building, in a courthouse, outside. I have no problem getting hit with, and no one does, getting hit with additional questions saying, hey, how big are your tables? I hate to say it, but the table size and lengths are not standard in any of these buildings. So that may be a simple question. Again, they should tell you if tables and chairs are being provided, and they should give you the dimension of those tables and chairs. But again, it also depends on how familiar the individual is with running those events. So if you don't see that simple information, ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we will move other questions to the Q&A, Liz.
Hi there. So so at this time, since you really dedicated a lot of time for Q&A, I figured we can just remain in this space and opened the floor for questions that are related to both your session, CFC 201 for nonprofits, as well as the outreach coordinator updates. I believe we have Jennifer Howard here in the room, so she can answer any questions related to the previous session. So right now we'll open the floor. You could either use the raise hand feature or simply unmute your line to ask a question.
Yes, my name is Deborah Warren, and I live in Montgomery, Alabama. So what advice would you have for a very small charity? We are very grateful and thankful to CFC. I've learned a lot just by being a charity for the last 9 years. But what recommendations would you have for charities that don't have a lot of money, but they have a presence in the city where they operate? And they would like to increase their visibility in the federal and military environment, and for people that really believe in education or education excellence here in the city of Montgomery, Alabama, or throughout the state, which I have worked with our congressional leaders, and they have worked very hard, but it took them 5 years to increase the Corporation for National and Community Service Coach Across America grant. They put 20 million in there. So it allows Alabama schools to be able to apply for visa grants, etc. on the Coach Across America grant, which UPS, up to not UPS, but Up to Us organization out of New York, they're the actual donor, contracted donor, like you all are. They are the contracted donor for the government. So people that want to apply for those grants, they can get that through applying to Up to Us Corporation, which is headquartered in New York. But I'm here in Montgomery, Alabama. And of course, they just sent out the statistics of where Alabama is. And the percentage of students passing or being able to actually compete is up in science, technology, engineering, and math is at 32% in terms of curriculum, academic curriculum. So what would you suggest? Because I've heard, and these are through great sources, that a lot of the military people don't want to come to Alabama because we're at the bottom when it comes down to education. So how do we get that visibility within the federal sector so we can change the narrative for Alabama? If you can hear me.
I'm sorry, I don't know if this is a question more on how to promote yourself or reaching out to the local campaign in Alabama. I think, you have
I'm in Zone 21, the
Zone 21.
Southeast Tri-County area. I'm not sure how much visibility I have nobody really knows that. I was just asking a question, just throwing it out there.
Okay, well, I mean, some of the things we mentioned here, and I understand you're a small nonprofit and you want to, expand your visibility. Have you been just doing certain best practices, like using your CFC code on your website? I think Jen's speaking. Jen, are you speaking?
Sorry, Robin. No, yes, I was speaking.
Not to us.
But yes, correct. I apologize.
Okay,
I was talking to Mike on the phone.
Okay.
That's funny.
Okay, thank you.
No, but Deborah, I would, if you have a website, definitely put your the CFC logo on your website, that you're a CFC approved charity. Participate in the events as a local charity. You're going to be in that randomizer, and as people adjust their events to say, 80% local, 20% national, international, what have you, you'll probably be generated more often.
Oh.
And then, your newsletters and stuff, any way that you're communicating with the general public. If you have a Facebook page, you can go to Give CFC. You can follow the CFC's Facebook pages, and you can share those posts as well.
Mm-hmm.
An easy way to promote your involvement with the campaign, and you don't have to create the post. We've already created it for you. So there are different ways to do this, and we'll provide some training to you throughout the campaign with other best practices.
Right. I really never talk about my, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No, please, it's about you.
Okay, thanks. I never really talk about my organization. I just talk in general that, the CFC is here, and I just say this is the campaign year is kicking off, but I never really talk about my organization. Yeah. Today was the first time I said, okay, if you're focusing in on education, you can go to CFC, and I just give them the website. I never really talk about my organization, and maybe that's wrong, but I never do that. I guess Deborah? I guess I should put that on there if you know, but I just never do. I don't want anybody trying to, I know we're having to deal with AI, and I don't want anybody trying to take, something that I didn't say or put my organization in the wrong thing. So that's why I never do that. I still try to be careful.
Yeah.
And Deborah, you also have a useful information in the charity portal that summarizes your donations, who's designated to you. You can find out the agencies that those people are coming from, so you can see which agencies are responding and hearing about you and which agencies aren't. So you can tailor your efforts accordingly.
You can tailor your efforts, and there are messaging templates that are being provided from the National Marketing Outreach Coordinator that you can use. There are CFC logos. Download the CFC logo, put it with your CFC code. That's your code for life. Use it. Build the awareness on what you do on your website, on your emails. You could put it in a footer. And when you're talking about the CFC, you want to talk about the CFC, but you also want to bring attention to what your organization does as well.
Thank you. That's good information, because they really don't know, because I never talk about my organization like that. But I can do it, like you said, within CFC. I feel more safer doing it that way than just putting it out there in the public. So we'll see how we can do it without, causing adverse effects toward my organization.
And again, also, as Robert had noted, you have all the information about your donors that released that information going years back. You've been in the campaign for 9 years. So go and take a look at the donors that have released that information and reach out to them and give the information that's been provided and thank them for their gift, and, give them the suggestions to maybe think of your organization or give them the CFC.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Lloyd.
I'm just going to jump in, Deborah. I'll follow up. Another thing to do is look around your donors, look around your base of donors and your board of directors. Find out if any of those people are federal employees.
All right.
Maybe you have 2 or 3 of your donors that have been with you for a number of years that are with the Postal Service or the VA or the military. And then you can go to them and say, hey, you support this organization. How can we get the CFC at your agency? Whether they are the post office or the military. Because if you have somebody that already believes in your mission and they're a federal employee, now you have a channel to get into their agency, and who knows how that spreads.
Right. Thank you all for the valuable information. You all are doing an excellent job. This information that I never would have thought of myself. So I'm going to go back and ask for you all to give me the slides back so I can actually take time and study them. Study what you all have in the slides, which will help me tremendously. I know it will.
Fantastic. And not only will there be slides, there's going to be a video of this presentation to refer back
that's
to
great.
as well.
Right, great. Awesome. That's what I would need, the video and the slides. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions?
We just got one in. Can we post flyers or posters out in our public spaces? I am not sure if that's from a nonprofit or a federal worker.
I think it's probably a federal worker. Can I direct that part of the question to the federal side of things?
Actually, it was nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, let me jump in, Robin.
Thank you, Tony.
You really cannot. There are official CFC posters. The outreach coordinators will provide them to the campaign managers in their areas. If you're invited to a charity fair, certainly bring your materials, but don't leave anything behind because it'll be thrown out.
Yeah.
If a federal agency director were to post a document from one charity, he or she would have to post documents from all charities in the campaign, and they don't want to do that. So to be fair to all, we have to say no. So unless you are individually invited to an event, you can't post things in public spaces, i.e. federal buildings or post offices, because they'll be taken down and you might get disinvited from places.
Thank you.
We also just got a follow-up. Would you be able to just share what benefits are to a charity in joining a contractor organization, I believe federation, as opposed to staying independent?
They should send us a note at cfc@opm.gov. We can't advise them on what to do. All we can do is say what factors they could consider.
Thanks, Tony. Also, a quick question regarding the question before. If they're talking about their public spaces, so say that they are not around a federal building, but there are federal workers in their vicinity, and they decide to put up posters in public, non-federal.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like advertising in a sense, wouldn't it?
It would be allowed. So, for example, there's a shopping center here in Washington, D.C. area that has a Navy Federal Credit Union branch. I'm going to bet there's federal employees going in and out of that branch. You want to put up posters in the shopping center because federal employees are likely to walk through it? That's not our concern. Our concern is only federal spaces, a building that is owned or occupied by federal employees only. So even on a military base, they can do certain things in residential spaces that they cannot do in office or official spaces. So again, it's federal workplaces only.
Right. The rules only govern the federal workspace, correct, Tony?
Right.
Terry? Lloyd?
Is this question regarding a leased space where it's a building that has mixed private commercial and then there happens to be a federal agency residing somewhere in that building? Because if it is, it still applies to what Tony said.
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah, it would still apply.
It can't be put in the agency space because that's agency space. But if they have a common lobby, they have a common elevator, they have a common cafeteria or something like that, and you know federal employees are going to walk by it, but it's not part of the lease agreement, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Lloyd?
I was going to throw out a question for the first session. So if you, I don't want to impede the flow here. So if you want to, I can wait or I can jump in.
Jump right in.
All right. I don't know if Victoria is still on the call, but Jen has heard me get up on this soapbox, so I will do it again while she's here. I think it would be really great if Tribal Tech and MP May could provide the national campaign managers with a list of contact information for all the LFCC members and key workers that they have within their agency, so that when this national campaign manager comes on board, maybe there's a list of 20 people that are in their agency all across the country, and they have a ready-made startup committee to get in touch with offices outside of the Washington, D.C. area. I know I belong to an agency who had a national campaign manager last year, and I never even knew who that person was. So I think it would be great if we could figure out a way to take all of our database information. We're not really sharing it outside of anything, you know, if we need their permission, but I would think that it would be really great if we could give that national campaign manager, you know, here's 20 people that work at HHS that are in different roles in the CFC. Say hello. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions in the chat that we missed?
Every time you ask that, Rob, and another one pops up.
Oh, hey, it's like I know.
I have a very similar question about the space. Kennedy Space Center is very mixed. Federal, civil, and commercial. Not sure if it's something we can figure out here, if it's based on how the building is leased. I believe that it'll be on how the building is leased from everything that we just heard. So if you're at the Kennedy Space Center and you're a building and every floor is federal and military, you could not put up posters specific to your organization. If you're on there and that building was completely commercial, the federal workers will go through it. That would be fine.
Yeah, I think so. Does anyone have any? Are there any other questions?
None right now.
All right, Jen, they might come in.
Just one question. How do we?
I have one quick question. What about Maxwell and Garner Air Force bases? Okay, so I'm in zone 21 and it's the southeast Tri-County area. Does anybody have any information as to when they're going to have in-person visitation of the charities located in the southeast Tri-County areas? And that would be part of Georgia, Florida, and Alabama.
Does anyone have information on that they can share?
I'm the account manager for Southeast Tri-State area. Hi, Deborah. I've talked to you in the past. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We just are onboarding some new campaign coordinators for Maxwell Air Force Base. And we'll be talking about what their campaign plan is, including what events they might want to be doing. And then that will work the way it always works, which is if they do an event where they want charities to come on base, they'll be using that OPM event request system. And that's kind of a randomized thing. So you want to make sure that your charity has signed up to be able to do events. especially in that area, so that you have the opportunity to, that if something comes up on Maxwell Air Force Base, that you have the opportunity to maybe be a charity that gets invited to one of those events.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Again, how do we verify that we're registered?
You would contact the National Marketing, the Common Core Services OC to verify that. And I believe we will find that email and put it in the chat for you. The only way to verify that you have registered is by contacting their help desk.
Thank you.
I think we are at time. So that was the last question, Robin and Beth.
Thank you, Jen.
I want to thank everybody on the panel for this great session, and also thank the charities for raising all of your questions. Every question you have is something that other people on this call have as well. So thank you for contributing and keeping this lively. I want to remind you that we continue tomorrow and Thursday with more sessions. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern, we're going to hear from the Central Campaign Administrator, and their representatives will walk us through the system. So if you're a charity, they're going to show us how you can access reports to really see how you're performing throughout the campaign. And if you're a federal employee, you'll also learn how you can download pledge reports and other important tools to assess the health of the campaign. So that's at 2 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, we're going to have breakout sessions. One will be geared towards federal employees, and that's CFC innovations and best practices. And the other one will be for charities, and that's the CFC 301 session. So please plan on joining us tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern at the same link, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Take care. Have a great day.